Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Saturday morning at Gen Con 2025. For all of you that may not remember, my name is Michael Ciaravella. I'm with Catalyst Game Labs, streaming here from the Catalyst Game Labs at Lynn Vander Studios, Six Sides of Gaming Gen Con TV booth. And I've got a wonderful guest here today. I've got Nilah Magruder of artistic fame and glory right there. For everyone who's just catching up with us, we are on day 3 of Gen Con. We have been broadcasting for the last several days, and we have been happy to see hundreds and hundreds of folks there. Hold on, I think I'm still getting a little feedback. Beautiful. Some slight technical items will be there with you momentarily. For everyone watching at home, you're pretty used to this with me. All right then, sounds good. We may want to lower the speakers a little bit, Savon, if we've got the ability. Sounds good. There we go. Perfect, perfect. We're used to having hundreds of people in front of us at the moment, but still everyone's kind of waking up at this point, which is a lovely thing.
I mean, same.
Absolutely. Well, that's why they put me on first right there. Somebody has to wake up nice and early. But Nilah, thank you so much for being with us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Sounds good. So, before we dive in to hearing more about your corpus of work, which I'm very, very excited about. We've been talking a little bit, and I love that. Our fans at home always want to know what our updated schedule looks like, so I should probably let them know. All right, so as everyone's seeing, probably online, from 9 to 10 today is live from Gen Con with Michael Ciaravella. Thank you, and for being here, and we appreciate it. And then at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we've got Catalyst Game Labs. We have Lauren Coleman, Randall Bills, and Rem Alternis coming for a very special announcement, which is about, we'll be happy to tell you, at 10 o'clock. We look forward to it. Then we're going to be doing the Leviathans demo from 12 to 1, featuring 4Kai. For everyone who has not found out yet, Leviathans is shipping. We already have it on its way to our Kickstarter backers. We're looking forward to it, and we've got over 7 tables right now, all the way behind me, playing Leviathans nearly 18 hours a day. So we're looking forward to it. After that, we have got Live with Cubicle 7 from looks like 1 to 1:30, but someone circled things on my sheet, so I'm not quite sure. And then we are going to be live with Chessex from 1:30 to 2. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Everybody knows is Quincy and Mike Ritchie's board game hour, where you can be. We are live with Quincy, and okay, that's what happens when it's on 2 pictures. I appreciate you all. Then we've got the Industry Leaders Forum from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. with Lauren Coleman, Mike Webb, John Roderick, Paul Butler, and Meredith Placco. And then for 4 till 6, we are excited to show off Roomfire, a beautiful new game in partnership with Catalyst and Paizo, starring Tommy Rice, Thorneye, and Beth the Bard. I'm going to be watching that one. I can't wait to see it. And then we are back to Tommy Rice with Partha Wars, which he showed off a little bit yesterday morning. He'll be with Beth the Bard playing from, wait a second, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'm seeing 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Oh, don't worry about that, folks. They mixed my Saturday and Sunday schedules. They put it all on one sheet. It just says Saturday at the top. All right, that's a fun one. So if you were a little confused, so was I. But please check online. You'll also see it on our Facebook pages, and hopefully we will have it right up on the Six Sides of Gaming stream, so we'll see that shortly. But that is our schedule coming up. We are very excited, but what I am truly excited for is my wonderful guest here, Nilah Magruder, and I want to hear more about her and some of the things coming down the road. I know we've got Creaky Acres, but I'm not going to jump into that too soon. I just want to mention it a few times to make sure I'm saying it right. But Nilah, can you tell a lot of our fans here, and once again, the hopefully 100,000 guests we're going to get for Gen Con, a little bit of what brought you here? Your body of work.
Sure. So I am an author and illustrator. I also work in animation. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I've published children's books, I've written short stories, and I've worked for Marvel for quite a bit. And Maurice Broaddus, who is running the Writer Symposium this year, graciously invited me to be here to talk about writing.
Oh, and that is a wonderful thing, and we want to hear very much about that. And I know you've got a few you've got a spotlight later today.
Yes.
You've got a signing later today. That's really, really very exciting. But also, that's only the high level overview of what you've done. You were the first African American woman to illustrate for Marvel, or to write for Marvel. Okay.
Yes.
And that's quite wonderful. You are an award-winning author.
Yes.
As well. And which award was that again?
That was the Dwayne McDuffie Award for Diversity in its first year.
I was going to say, you were the initial recipient.
Yes.
Right there. So that is very, very impressive, and that is lovely. But so of your corpus of work, I would like to focus on specifically your personal writings first and foremost right there. You have MFK Part 1. Yes, I got it correct. Thank you. I've been diving in right there. And what's that about for some of our fans at home who may not know yet?
So that is my very first graphic novel that actually started as a web comic that I was publishing for free in my spare time online. It is an action-adventure fantasy about a girl who is returning her mother's ashes to her homeland, but she also has psychic powers that get her into trouble wherever she goes. It's kind of a fantasy road trip.
That sounds very cool. And where could people find that? Is that through independent bookstores? Is that through main distribution? Do you have it here?
That is a good question. So as far as I know, it might be going out of print. So it's getting a little hard to find. I think you can still find it. Its publisher is Inside Editions, and so I think you can still find it through the Inside Editions website or even Simon & Schuster, which was the initial distributor. You can also find it on used bookstore websites.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But that was your first work. What I see you've done a few things since then.
Yeah, so after I won the Dwayne McDuffie Award, very quickly after that, Marvel reached out to me about writing a story for an anthology they were doing called A Year of Marvels, which is every month, every issue. Basically, the story revolved around what the superheroes were doing in their free time, when they're not fighting villains, what's happening in their day-to-day lives. So, say for February's issue, that was a Valentine's Day story with Spider-Man. So, I got September, and, there aren't a lot of big holidays in September, so...
the Labor Day issue.
Right. So I'm like, trying to generate ideas, and I'm like, okay, there's back to school, there's Oktoberfest, and they gave me the characters I was going to work with. It was Rocket Raccoon and Tippy Toe Squirrel of Squirrel Girl fame, and I also realized September, that's when fall starts. And so I decided, okay, this story's going to be about trees. Rocket Raccoon, Groot. It worked really well. And at that point, then I had to go through Marvel's lexicon of characters and find the right villain. And it just so happens they have a villain called Plant Man. And so I decided, okay, this story is about Rocket and Tippy Toe fighting Plant Man, who is weaponizing the trees of New York City. It was really fun.
That sounds fantastic right there. And you've done quite a bit with Marvel since then as well. Once again, I think most of our fans right there, I know initially the first connection point with me was Spider-Bite.
Yes.
Once again, this whole Spider-Man franchise, especially recently with Into the Spider-Verse, is reaching whole new audiences. So those of us who remember, who've been there since the beginning, it is wonderful to see. And those have been some of my best new movies have been some of those gorgeous Marvel animation. What was it like to see a character of yours on the screen like that? I can only imagine.
Oh, it was super surreal. Just something I never thought would happen ever in my life. Being invited to come up with a spider variant was a shock too. I hadn't heard from Marvel for a couple of years at that point, and it was a new office. I'd worked with one set of editors for A Year of Marvels, and then it was the Spider-Man office that reached out to me. and said, we are doing this kind of a tie-in to Into the Spider-Verse. So they were doing a Spider-Geddon event in the comics and needed to come up with a whole new host of Spider characters. And so they invited me to pitch one. And I gave them a few pitches. I pitched Spider-Cat, which was already kind of a thing, but didn't have his own story. And I pitched...
I would have wanted Spider-Cat.
It was a tough call. I also pitched, I think, Were-Spider, which was a werewolf that gets bitten by a radioactive spider. I was very excited about that one.
That's an exciting thought process. Marvel, if you're watching, I would like to see Were-Spider.
But I also pitched Spider-Bite. I'm a child of the 90s, and I realized Marvel didn't have a Spider-Man that crawls the World Wide Web, and it felt like a missed opportunity.
I completely agree. And what is it like you got the chance to create a character for the Spider-Man universe and a Spider-Man variant. That's a beautiful thing. But one that was so well received.
Yeah.
It as you said, it was a missed opportunity that you absolutely really focused upon. And it was just a wonderful character. And now we're seeing her on the big screen right there. It was magnificent. How the fan reaction to that? How did that feel?
I mean, it was all very shocking because she was kind of a small character. In the comics, she got about 5 pages, and that was it. And I felt like, even in the comics, she had been pretty well received, but it was a small story. And I thought, well, that was it. That was really fun. And for Sony to reach out to me and say, hey, they basically said they needed a particular role filled in the story for Across the Spider-Verse. And they're looking through everything Marvel has to offer, and they landed on Spider-Bite and realized, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And so there was a while there that, me and Sony were talking, and then the talk kind of died down. And I was like, oh, they probably cut the character. I work in animation. I know how things go.
You know how that works.
Yeah, my feelings weren't hurt. And then my friends were tagging me on Facebook one day. And promotional posters, like the early posters for Across the Spider-Verse had come out. And people, I looked at that poster, and there's so many spider characters. It's like, how do you identify any of these characters? But people were picking Spider-Bite out, and her costume had changed. She looked completely different, but people figured it out. They're like, oh my God, that's Spider-Bite.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, and I'm like, I couldn't help looking through Twitter at the feedback, and I couldn't believe, number one, that people remembered this character and that they were so excited. And then when the movie actually came out, you got to see what she could do, and she was only in there for a few minutes, but people are doing fan art and cosplaying her. It was mind-blowing. It's more than I ever expected a character that I created to, have that sort of impact on an audience.
Well, it clearly did, and I'm so happy for you. That is a beautiful thing. So we know a little bit about your work there, and I'd like to dive back into your corpus in a moment, but when you are not writing, what are you working on? I know there's quite the menagerie right there, the cats, dogs, and chickens, is it?
Yeah.
Am I correct there?
Yes. So I used to live in LA. I'm from Maryland, and I moved back into my childhood home, which is a little bit in the country, and kind of went full homesteader. So I've got cats, and I've always loved animals. I've always had at least something. I've got 2 cats right now, 2 dogs, and a little flock of chickens that keep me busy. One of my chickens is actually broody right now, which means she wants to be a mom, so she's hoarding all of the eggs, and she doesn't want me to take them. And luckily, she's very nice. Some hens in this position will peck at you and bite you, but she doesn't do that. She just gets really angry and fussy when I take her eggs.
Very fair.
Yeah.
And in your spare time, I believe it was gardening and
I also
baking.
gardening. Yes, I'm a master gardener. So I have my own garden. I have a vegetable garden, and I'm also very into native plants. And as a master gardener, part of our program, particularly because we're on the Chesapeake Bay, my county is, I live 2 miles from the bay. So a lot of residents in our county are on the waterfront or very close. We're deeply in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So a lot of our program is about mitigating pollution and really taking a role in the environmental impact in our ecosystem. So part of my role as a master gardener is to talk to residents about things they can do to mitigate stormwater runoff on their properties and to lessen pollution as much as possible so that we can keep our waterways clear.
That is very impressive. Thank you for your part in that. Everyone's helping to save the earth. One of the things, as you'll see with Gen Con right now, they're very, very focused on giving back to the community, giving back to the earth, trying to make things more sustainable for many more generations of gamers, which we appreciate everyone who can do their part with that one. But thank you. So you're here at Gen Con, the best 4 days in gaming. We haven't really talked about any gaming. Do you do any games? What's your thought process there?
So I'm not much of a gamer. That was always my brother's thing.
Gotcha.
So he would play video games and I would sit and watch him. And when you're a kid, we played card games, we played some board games. My big ones were Uno and checkers. And when we got the internet as a teenager, I started role-playing online.
Gotcha.
So text-based role-playing.
Of course.
I
remember it well.
Yeah, I did that for years and years. And then became a professional artist, and that took over my life. So I don't game so much anymore. I have a little mobile game that I'm into, and that's about it.
But still an RPG player at heart. That's the important thing. So that is a wonder. That is very exciting, and that is lovely.
Yes.
So wonderful. Thank you. I think we've given them your bona fides right there. That's wonderful. We always want to establish the gamer cred. That is very important.
Well, and this is so overwhelming. I've never been to a gaming show before. Oh. And I've been walking the exhibit hall feeling like I need to buy at least one game while I'm here, but there's so many options. I don't even know where to start.
That actually brings me to a great question that I think only you can answer for me. So I'm a game designer. I work with Catalyst Game Labs. I'm a novelist. I've got 5 books to my credit just there. But I walk around gaming conventions, and when I'm walking around, it's the art that inspires me. I'm going through, and I've got five contracted projects we're working on right now. But you walk down Artist's Alley, or you walk down and see some of the gorgeous artwork on some of these booths, and it just, for me at least, it focused me on, I should probably do a project in this area. I'm feeling like doing a murder mystery today, or I'm feeling about doing something in space or with dragons. What is it like for an artist? My art is my words, but for an artist walking around and seeing all this, is this inspiring for you? What has caused your mind to percolate a bit here?
Very much, it's the art that I've been gravitating toward in the exhibit hall. You see a really cool banner with really well-designed characters, and I would just drift to the banner oh, I want to draw characters like that. And I've been looking at the scope of characters and environments that are represented in the exhibit hall, and it gets me thinking about archetypes and gets me thinking about what sort of stories are being told in these games and what sort of character opportunities, what's missing, what I would like to see more of in the world. And I found the art show yesterday, and that's where I really let loose. I spent too much money on the art show. But for me, who doesn't really know where to start when it comes to games, it's really the art that has been drawing me to different booths. And there's such a variety, so many different styles.
And you just raised two very, very important points that I always like to focus on the show. You are going to the artist alley. You are picking up art. You are supporting other artists. You are supporting the community and seeing, exactly as you said a moment ago, seeing what you want in the world, both through art and in the community. I know Gen Con is very supportive of that. I personally always like to highlight that during our novelists panel last night. That was a very big focus of so many of the gamers, so many who are here right now are aspiring game designers, aspiring artists, aspiring writers.
Yeah.
And how do we inspire them to continue on, and how do we support them? It is, I happen to have Michael Stackpole, one of the authors of my childhood, right here seated next to me, and he likes to remind me, I've got his cell phone number, right? We can talk at any point right there. But it was the opportunity to talk to someone who has been here, who gave back to the community and to myself, and you are doing that same thing. You just taking the opportunity to be here at Gen Con. It is amazing. We really appreciate it.
Of course. And I mean, I think it's great that Gen Con is aware of the crossover between interests that gamers have. You know, it's not just playing games, you know, it's enjoying storytelling, it's the creative aspect, it's the writing aspect, the art aspect, and so that Gen Con is aware of that and is trying to fulfill that need in attendees. I think it's really great.
That is really wonderful. So, okay, apparently some problems are being solved, so that is lovely. All right, so let's get back to your corpus of work, because I really want to focus on what you're doing now. The most recent is Creaky Acres.
Yes.
Got it? Excellent. So what is Creaky Acres? What can you tell us? I don't want to dive too much and give anything away.
So it is a graphic novel for kids. So this market is middle grade, so it's for the 8 to 12-year-old range, but you know, it's for all ages, really. And it's about horseback riding.
Very nice. Mm-hmm. That is a beautiful thing. Okay, everyone, on your Gen Con bingo cards, I have now said it's a wonderful thing and it's a beautiful thing. Please continue playing. Thank you so much. I've got a few phrases that they know all too well for me, but I'm getting better at recognizing them. So, aside from that, what else have you been working on? You've got quite the established corpus there.
Yes. So I'm working on another graphic novel duology called Hex and Havoc, and that is a young adult fantasy romance. It's about love and revolution and magic, and I'm writing that. I'm working with an illustrator named Sonia Lau, who does beautiful work, and it's been a labor of love. We've been working on it for quite a while because graphic novels they're very hard, but you know, it's worth it in the end. So we're nearing the finish line on the first book, and then we'll be diving into the second book.
That is exciting. I'm very curious. For you, I have no artistic ability whatsoever. I can't draw. I sent one of my editors one point a stick figure drawing of my first cover. He's got it mounted to his wall as a warning to others to never ever do that again. But what's it like being an incredible artist and illustrator right there, working, and now you're handling the writing end of things, but partnering with someone else on the art side. What's that like? Once again, we know it's vital, and to get some of these projects out, you know, sometimes we can't do everything, but what's that process like?
It's very interesting. You know, as an artist, focusing on the writing and working with another artist, I try to approach my script writing with the mindset of, if I were illustrating this, what would I need from me? And, you know, I know how hard it can be as an artist to interpret a script. You know, there's a joke that we make online about how a writer can write something like, you know, like establishing shot, like 5 million spaceships fly into space and begin a battle, and that's like one sentence. But for the artist, that's a mind-blowing amount of work. And so I try to be aware of the impact my words have on the page and what sort of work I'm asking the artist to do and what is necessary. You know, what can we how can I minimize the work as much as possible and also give my artist room to bring her own talents to the page. What I love about this level of collaboration is that you've got two brains working together. You have two different viewpoints, two different lived experiences. And so there's so much that Sonia brings to the story that, she's executing what I've described in the script, but she's doing it in her own way. And the amalgamation, the way we both bring ourselves into the story, it creates something just brand new and unexpected. And every time she sends updates, she sends new art, I'm just fascinated. Like she's killing it. She's doing even more than I wanted her to. Sometimes I want to be like, I'm sorry, Sonia, I didn't mean to put you through all this, but every page is just amazing.
Well, it's the joy of the collaborative effort right there, and it says so much for you that you can put that work into others' hands. We both know the challenges of that sometimes, but to create something wonderful, I'm very, very excited for it. So it was Hex and
Havoc.
Hex and Havoc. It sounds like a title that definitely should be here in the future. So I'm very excited. So those are some of the projects you're working on right now. Do you have any others in your corpus that have already been published, that are already out there?
Yeah, so I'm mostly known for my picture books, I think.
Okay.
I'm very big on the, in the 2 to 6 year old set. So I've got 2 picture books out. One is called How to Find a Fox. It's about how to find a fox. It's very, kids love it. It's kind of interactive. It's pretty funny. My latest picture book is called What Are You? And it's kind of my attempt to emulate the picture books that I loved as a kid. I loved colorful books with animals. And so this story is about a little creature that doesn't quite know what she is, and she lives in this world just with other animals, and all the animals tell her their stories, and she decides to set on a journey to find her own story. And it's kind of a journey back in time. So when we meet her, she talks to a buffalo, a fox, a whale, turtle, elephants. And then she starts her journey, and she ends up on an island with dodos. And she moves on from that island, and we see her walking past woolly mammoths. And she burrows deep into the earth, and she finds a dinosaur fossil that speaks to her. And then she goes even farther and farther, and I'm just telling the whole story now. And she finds... She meets a protozoan, which is just a little, the first spark of life.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that is exciting. No, now I want I want that for the family. That's going in the baby's room right there. So that is lovely. And what age is that for?
That is for, I'd say 2 to 6.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a wordier book than How to Find a Fox, but it's also very visual. It's very pretty. So I hear from parents all the time that their kids, even the young ones, even if they don't fully understand the words, they love the pictures.
And loving the pictures, but also it's a very important message to send early on, especially as the world changes and we get, who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to be? That is a beautiful message to be sending early, and to really support all children everywhere. So that is lovely. So that is exciting. You've got quite a bit going on. Do you have anything else going on with Marvel or any of the other companies? Because I know you've worked with a few other of the big companies too. Was it Disney and Pixar, or am I'm trying to remember.
So last year I published a couple of stories for Marvel that are collected in Edge of Spider-Verse Spider Society, a trade paperback I believe is still available. I read a new Spider-Bite story and also a Jessica Drew story. So I have worked for Disney in several capacities. I illustrated the anniversary covers for Heroes of Olympus by Rick Riordan. And I also work in animation. So currently, my latest show, Disney Junior's Ariel, is airing. Let's see, season 1 I think is on Disney Plus and also airing on Disney Channel. What else? What else have I been working on?
That is a good one. My better question is, how do you find the time for all of it? That is wonderful. You are in all of the major areas. Writer,
yeah.
illustrator, you've got television items there, you've got characters on the big screen. That is really impressive. You're hitting, once again, Gen Con is for all groups, right? You're hitting all of the hot buttons for them.
I keep busy.
Yeah. And one of the many reasons why you are one of the Gen Con featured guests, and we're so happy to have you here. Just a quick time check, so we're a little bit after 9:30 right here. We're going till about 9:45. My big question for you that I always want to share is, and it's especially poignant for you, as artist, illustrator, author, everything else, for aspiring gamers, for aspiring people in any of these realms, what good advice can you give them to really start delving down? Because as we said, Gen Con is a great incubator for inspiration to go around. We've got young children, we've got adults walking around and going, that's a really great game. I could make something like that. What advice would you give them at that point?
Goodness, I would say to just start. There's never... I was just talking to my agent about this yesterday, and I think sometimes we get stuck putting off the things we really want to do, and it can be hard, especially, for me. I'm always busy, and it's hard to find the time sometimes to do the things I really want to do, but you end up just watching your life pass away, and it always, it just becomes this perpetual, one day when the timing is perfect, I'm going to do this thing. And the timing is never going to be perfect. The circumstances are never going to be right. Sometimes you just have to find a way to make that thing a priority. And then when you do that, focus on doing the things you love. Don't try to write the trends. Don't try to necessarily emulate, popular artists. You want to execute what's important to you. What you want to make the art that you love making. As artists, we all approach design problems in our own unique ways. That's what style is. It's the individual way that you solve design problems. And you want to pay attention to how you intuitively approach artistic expression. You want to pay attention to what gets you excited. What is it about art or writing that keeps you working late into the night? Because that's the passion that's going to carry you through. That's the expression, the execution that you bring to create the creative world. So, and young people always ask, like, how do you stay motivated? And I stay motivated by just doing the art that I like to do and really zeroing in on that. If somebody comes to me with a job they want me to do, if it's not in my wheelhouse, I don't take it. I only take the things that, I think to myself, I wouldn't be able to stand it if someone else worked on this. Like, that is for me. And you want to have that laser focus. That's really what keeps you motivated and passionate.
That is really impressive. I was actually just having that conversation the other day. Someone was saying, well, what if I want to create something in a realm that's not as lucrative right there? We were using the example of steampunk. A family member had been doing, that was during the height of the steampunk era, and the artist didn't want to do steampunk stuff. That just wasn't in their wheelhouse, not what was interested. But they couldn't financially, the stuff that they wanted to create was not providing them the support that they needed. So So they started doing some steampunk stuff, and it just took off, and it was wonderful. But they were trying to find the balance of how is it one for me, one for the fans? Is it how do we manage? Because that's all, as you know, as an artist, is always the challenge of how do I survive? How do I make money as a creative right there and have the roof over our head, have food in the house, but also create the art that we want? And it's so inspiring to me that you're able to really focus on, because of course that's the dream for any artist, to be in a position where they can go, this is what I want to work on. This is my passion. I am going to follow it through. And having the ability to do it, your incredible corpus of work already has established. You have the bona fides. You can do what you need to, and people are calling you to. Here's the open world. Please create something.
Yeah.
And you've done such a lovely job with that.
And it took a long time to get here. You know, the reason that I started MFK is because I couldn't get work. I got out of art school. I went to art school. I got out, and I couldn't get hired. All the animation studios said, you know, well, thank you for your time, but we went with someone else. And you know, all the comic companies said, well, your work isn't quite there. And, you know, I was unemployed. I couldn't make rent. You know, I couldn't buy groceries. And while I was spiraling, I needed something creative to focus on. And so I started in... You know, I'd had this webcomic that I'd been putting off for 10 years. Like, I'd been cooking the story and not doing anything with it. And I said, now's the time. Like, do something for myself that, there's no gatekeepers. Like, there's no one, there's really no one to direct me or control what I'm doing. I can just do this for myself. And so I started this webcomic. And I worked on it in my spare time for free. You know, I wasn't getting paid to do it, and it was tough. And I just worked quietly for 3 years, and it took off. Like, it was just 3 years of plugging away at night in my spare time. And sometimes that's what it takes. Like, it's easy to look at authors and people like me who are sitting on a soundstage with a microphone in their face and think, well, but I'm not lucky like them. And you don't see all the hours and years that go into becoming an overnight success.
Yeah. And we were having that conversation the other day too. I see so much of that when they look up here and go, well, they don't see the tireless nights, the late evenings, the agonizing in bed over, okay, did this character do this? How will we move forward on that one in all stages? Or I did a blue line here. Should it have been green?
Yeah.
And always going back and looking at your works later as you grow as an artist, as you grow as a creative in general. That is wonderful, but we always appreciate our artists and the long road it took them to get here, but it's a beautiful thing. You are, once again, being a Gen Con special guest right there. It's a high honor. It's a high bar. This is the biggest 4 days in gaming in the United States. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of people seeing your work, and it is a really exciting time, and we are so honored to have you here. It is a wonderful thing.
Oh, I'm honored to be here.
So that is lovely. So, as we are starting to get a little bit closer to wrapping up right now, what is the best way for people to follow you and to get in touch with your works right there? We talked a little bit about where MFK, got it, is out and about. If someone wants to follow Creaky Acres, where would they do that?
Sure. So you can go to my personal website, NilahMagruder.com, and it's got all my books there, so it's really easy to figure out how to buy from my website. And if you can't find my website, you can just Google my name. I'm really easy to find online. I'm the only Nilah Magruder in the world, so that makes it easy. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the main way to find me. I'm also on Blue.Sky. You can find me there. And I'm on LinkedIn. Don't connect with me on LinkedIn.
Not the best method.
Yeah, I'm staying low-key on social media right now, but my website is always a great way to find me.
And it's a gorgeous website.
Oh, thank you.
It really is very nice.
Thank you. I coded it myself. It was a lot.
Another of the artist's hard work right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is, what are you, just a few more general questions. What are you taking away with you so far? We are on day 3 of Gen Con. We were going to see Saturday, sometimes the biggest crowds ever. So if you thought it was big before, now it's wild. This year we sold out, I want to say 7 days before anyone had ever arrived. Last year it was 2 days before, I believe.
Okay.
Every single badge. It was stunning. So some of these people have all prepared for nearly a year to be here and see you. What are you taking with you on your first Gen Con? Just from what you've seen, what's going to hold to your heart from here?
I think the passion for gaming. Like, I walked through the hotel last night, and everybody, the fascinating thing for me is, you know, I go to other conventions, I go to Comic Cons and book conferences, and there's always the nightlife where everybody goes to the hotel and hangs out and chats at the bar. And here you see people with their cards and boards out, and they're playing games. Like, they've been playing games here all day, and then they go back to the hotel and they sit in the lobby and they play more games. It's just exciting to see that level of passion.
And that's an important thing, especially for our guests at home or those who've not come to Gen Con before. It is Indianapolis loves Gen Con. My first few years when I went around, all of the mailboxes were painted like R2-D2.
Oh,
it was amazing.
I know, and at the restaurants, like, you know, everyone's dressed up, and you can see it. They really embrace this convention.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where the Indianapolis airport, when you leave, you're going to still see people playing games. If you go to Las Vegas, you've got slot machines there. When you go to Indianapolis this week, you will have board games on top of board games as you prepare. And coming in as well, it really is such a wonderful event. And clearly from the crowds we are seeing right here, for all of you who can't hear it in the background, it is certainly starting to pick up. We are directly in the crossroads, so everyone's heading to their 10 o'clock games. It is really impressive, and it is a wonderful opportunity for people to dive into the gaming world.
Yeah, the crowds are intense. Every time I have to enter the stream, it feels like double dutch, like, okay, like, got to get my timing right.
Oh, no, that has always been the magic, but this year is going to be very impressive. I can't wait to hear what sort of numbers we're looking at there. So that is really an impressive breakdown of things. I really appreciate it. Can you tell us a little bit of what you're doing today? So if people want to follow you and continue what we're looking at today, I know you've got a signing at 11 o'clock, I want to say?
Yes, signing in about an hour where books are being signed. I believe it's in the exhibit hall. And it's a joint signing with me and Delilah S. Dawson, another author who was here with the Writers' Symposium.
Sounds good. So is it in the Writers' Symposium area potentially, or... Well, we can
That's
follow
a
up
good
on
question.
that. We will follow up on that a little bit more to see. And will you have some of your books there to purchase? Or is it only signing if they bring their own?
I think they need to bring books with them.
That's very fair. I have the same problem. I've got a signing later today, and apparently my triple order of books is all sold out on Thursday. So I'm a little... Still got some Damocles sanction out there, folks. Don't worry. But Trial of Birthright, you might need to order. I'll be around to sign at some point, though. So it was a surprise to me, too.
Yeah.
So it's been an exciting day. But no, I can't wait to pick up some of your books. I really appreciate that. My family will love them, I have no doubt. You also have a spotlight today, even more importantly, and this is Spotlight on You. Do we know that one's at 1 o'clock?
That is at 1 o'clock in Marriott Ballroom 4.
That is a very nice space. So please, you should swing over to the Marriott Ballroom 4. This was just a generalized overview with an incredible artist. But if you really want to dive in, hear more, and see where you can get more of her items, that's going to be your best opportunity.
Yes, and I'll have pictures.
And you'll have pictures. Well, I hope I'll be able to spin over there myself. I really appreciate that. So we are starting to get right near the end right here. We're actually running right on time, which is always shocking to my team. I'm just going to do one quick breakdown of the schedule. We're going to do it right this time, right there, and then we will jump and prepare for our next big announcement with Rem Alternus. So that you were just here with live from Gen Con with Nilah Magruder and Michael Ciaravella. We're jumping into a special announcement from Catalyst Game Labs for 2 hours. It's going to be Lauren Coleman, Randall Bills, and Rem Alternus. I can't tell you what it's about yet, but stay tuned. Then we're going to a Leviathans demo from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. with Thor Nye. Should be very enjoyable. Then live from Cubicle 7 from 1 to 1:30, live with Chex6 from 1:30 to 2, and then Quincy and Mike Ritchie's Board Game Hour from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be showing off today, but Quincy always has something new and exciting, so I'm really excited there. Now this is where it gets me into trouble when I switch screens. Then, yes, 3 to 4, we're going to have industry leaders with Lauren Coleman, Mike Webb, John Roderick, Paul Butler, and Meredith Placco. And then 4 to 6, Runefire with everyone's favorite Tommy Rice, Thor Nye, and Beth the Bard. And then it seems to jump till tomorrow. So there may be some fun stuff after that to be announced, but keep watching. We'll keep you updated. Once again, Nilah, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know it was very early, and I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you're going to have a wonderful Gen Con. I know you're going to have a fantastic signing and a fantastic spotlight, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking the time with me, and please keep creating the wonderful stuff that you're doing.
Of course.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So now we are approaching 10 to the hour, so I really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Michael Ciaravella. I was here with Nilah Magruder. We had a wonderful time. If you missed us, please take the time to jump on the Six Sides of Gaming stream or Gen Con TV and watch this wonderful segment. You'll see me hopefully a little bit later today. But for right now, I'm coming from the Catalyst Game Labs, Six Sides of Gaming, Gen Con TV, and Lynn Vander Studios booth. That's a long sentence, but it's always it's good to carry everything. I've got the wonderful Six Sides of Gaming team here doing our tech work. I thank them. I thank all of our people, and I hope you have a lovely day. We'll be back very soon.